Welcome to U.S. LawShield live from the news desk in Houston, Texas. I'm Sam Malone. Thanks for joining us. As, of course, we're on social media. Comments, questions, pile on, direct messages, whatever you need, make it happen as we are live coast to coast here. And we cover 2A, Second Amendment stories. We always do it with the best from U.S. LawShield. They're independent program attorneys, the ones who answer the phone 24/7. Richard Hayes is standing by at U.S. LawShield headquarters. How are you, Mr. Attorney Richard Hayes?
Doing great, Sam. Thanks for having. Always great to talk to you.
As well. I mean, and you're great at this. Listen to this story, folks, across America. Tell me what you think you would do, and then, of course, we'll get the legal angle from U.S. LawShield's independent program attorney, Richard Hayes. From Seattle, this is just the other day, a man gets in an argument with his former girlfriend. Okay, they're at a kind of a food place where they're inside. There's a restraining order against him. He pulls out a knife and stabs the baby's mother to death right there in front of everyone. Comes down the street of the Seattle Center Armory. He's still holding the knife. He's covered in blood, and comes upon a man named Scott Brown who works at a restaurant. It's his day off. He's just walking down the street. He happens to have a CHL, a concealed handgun license, concealed weapon license. Comes upon him. His hands are bloody, and the concealed handgun license holder, Mr. Brown, is shouting out, "I've got a gun. I've got a permit to carry this, that, and the other." Put the knife down. It took like what feels like a lifetime, a couple minutes, when police finally arrived and others helped him subdue the man. But I can only imagine you're walking down the street. You are legally there in the right. You got a permit, a license to carry. And a guy comes out with blood on his hands holding a knife. In TV, Mr. Hayes, they just shoot the guy. But as the independent program attorney, walk us through the do's and don'ts of this scenario.
Well, he should be commended. I mean, he's an absolute hero. He just stopped a murderer. It's a fascinating case and should just be chalked up as another, defensive gun use. This is why people carry. We see this. The numbers aren't solid, but 500,000 to 3 million defensive gun uses every year, and you can add this to the list. So what he did was absolutely was perfectly legal, completely justified, and I think he should be lauded as a hero. What's interesting about the case is the amount of time that went between. He's still a dangerous person, and the restraint that he used in not discharging his weapon. Sometimes that's the right thing to do. In this case, he didn't, and it worked out just fine. And the person is going to be taken to trial and held accountable for his actions. So. It's really a fascinating case that we could talk about for a long time. And I'm interested to see what people, I think this is a clear case of justification. I'm interested to see what the viewers have to say about it. And if he did the right thing, what they would do in this scenario. But, it turned out perfectly well in this case. And like I said, he's a hero. The proud American who had the license to carry said he was asking him to kill him. The guy with the knife and the blood on his hands was asking him to kill him. I can't imagine a civilian being standing with a gun in your hand legally. Let's just throw it out this way. Man has blood on his hands and a knife. He's saying, "Kill me." Legal justification to pull the trigger? Ooh, it's a tough question. It's a sliding scale.
Right.
And so the way that the justification statute works in every state, the backbone and core of it is acting when it's immediately necessary and reasonable under the circumstances. And so in this case, when you have a person who it's really tough to sit Monday morning quarterback and say, was what he did reasonable and immediately necessary under the circumstances? We all know about the 21-foot rule. Police officers learn that in the academy. All right. Well, if he's within 21 feet, he's going to get you with a knife before you have an opportunity to draw your weapon and discharge. And so in that scenario, absolutely, it's immediately necessary. With this firearm already drawn, I'm not aware of any studies on this, but, there is a very good argument that if the person changed his mind to go from, all right, I'm trying to do suicide by concealed weapons holder to, all right, he's not doing what I want, I'm going to kill him, how much time would he have to react, and would it be reasonable and immediately necessary under the circumstances? It's very fascinating.
It is. Independent program attorney Richard Hayes with U.S. LawShield. We're on U.S. LawShield Live. Keep your comments and questions coming in. Even if you message us, we'll do our best to get right back to you. But here, the law-abiding American with the concealed handgun license and the gun is walking backwards, like looking around, like, any cops, anybody going to help me? And I guess it took inside of 2 minutes, which is an awfully long time. But his blood on the hands and a knife, blood on the hands and a knife, enough to cap somebody, so to speak, and use lethal and deadly force.
Yeah, and as the saying goes, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, and that's what happened in this case. This is why, people carry guns because cops are too heavy. That's why you have a gun to protect yourself and to protect other people. And in this case, most states, including Washington, you have a defensive third person argument also, just because, in this case, he was also being threatened. I think he would have been justified in defending himself, but all the other people around there, he was defending them as well, too. And that gives him extra protection. Now,
the fellow with the gun, name is Scott Brown, whatever, a hero. But walk us through, even though everything is in your favor, you have a madman just murdered his girlfriend, and he's standing there, and he's got the knife and the gun. But if you miss, if Mr. Brown had fired a round and missed, and it hit an innocent civilian, you're not off the hook.
Yeah, so, talking about not the criminal aspect, obviously he's justified. Going over to the civil side, would he be held liable if, he injured an innocent third party? Well, most states that they organize a little bit differently. I'm going to use Texas as an example. Right. As long as you're not acting recklessly, you shouldn't be held civilly liable when you're acting in justified self-defense. Now, there isn't a whole lot of case law to, super clarify, sharpen this, like a laser pointer. But, as long as he's not acting recklessly, you would think the law would offer him some protection. Now, it's not going to be, 100%, closed case. It's going to be an argument that you're making in front of a jury. And what they're always looking at is, was the harm caused by, the person coming to the defense of others, was that harm greater than the harm he prevented? In this case, you got a crowded area in Seattle with a person literally red-handed, covered in blood, running around with a knife. And so that's an argument that would have to be made in front of a jury. But in many states, you would be immune from civil liability. Which means while they could sue you, anybody can sue you for any reason. This is America. There wouldn't be any bite to that bark. You'd be immune from the damages.
Got it. Richard Hayes, independent program attorney. I have access to Mr. Hayes and the great team over there at US LawShield because I am a member. I joined a while back. It just takes, 3 to 4 minutes perhaps. Put it up on the screen. You need to become a member of US LawShield. Why? Well, if you carry, if you have guns at the home, if you use guns for hunting, maybe you use them for protection. Maybe you're a collector. Same goes for protection if you use a baseball bat on somebody who breaks in. You get this kind of instant 24/7 protection with an attorney-answered hotline, 3-4 minutes, I think, max to sign up for the annual membership. And by the way, they throw in 2 free months. So you pay for 12 months of coverage. You get 14 months of coverage. Go to uslawshield.com, uslawshield.com, online code SAM, S-A-M. Let me get back to Mr. Hayes. You always think also, like, what if these were theater students, and they want to be zombie killers, and they're practicing their trade by walking down the street with blood on them and an axe or a knife? It can be a dangerous situation for the law-abiding citizen.
Oh, absolutely. And so there's no uniformity for the defense of third parties laws throughout the United States. Generally, most states say if the person who's being attacked would be allowed to defend themselves, then a third party who intervenes, they would be fine to intervene on their behalf. Some states say it's a subjective belief based on the defending gun owner. So if I walk up and I see somebody murdering someone and I believe they're being murdered and I shoot and kill them and really they're acting out a scene, while there's going to be some very upset people. Under the law, in some states, that would be considered okay. Some people say, no, it has to be objective. Objectively, they're acting and you're going to be held responsible. So, unfortunately, there's not a clear-cut answer. It just depends on the state that you're in.
And finally, real quick, Richard Hayes, independent program attorney. Keep your questions coming in because this is probably going to be the bulk of them. The hero, his name is Scott Brown, who stopped this, who was licensed to carry. He had, was legal in every step of the way. But what if he didn't have a license to carry? He didn't, but he happened to have a gun on him. For whatever reason, he had a gun on him, and he shouldn't have had a gun. But, hey, he was a hero, right? The police look the other way, don't they, Mr. Hayes? Like, oh, don't worry about it. You shouldn't have had that gun. But you are a great man.
Yeah, so it's going to depend again. But what this calls back to is a common law principle of necessity.
Right.
And so, and that goes in kind of like the discussion we had about the civil damages. Was the harm of him carrying a gun greater than the harm of him stopping a knife-wielding murderer. No, him carrying a gun, we all agree that's less. That's less harmful to society. And so he may not be able to rely on the Washington self-defense statute, the Washington defense of third person statute, but he should get that common law doctrine of necessity, which is not as friendly for gun owners. So you want to be carrying legally. You want to be in a place you're legally allowed to be with your firearm when you're acting in self-defense, so you get the maximum protection under the law.
Amazing. And that's why you need 24/7 access to Mr. Hayes and the crew there. Even like Thanksgiving Day, they're answering 24/7. Even if it's Thanksgiving night, Christmas morning, there's attorney standing by, because should there be an incident, you need legal defense for self-defense. And that's why it's great to have 24/7 access to independent program attorneys at U.S. LawShield like Mr. Hayes. I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking the time and answer all your questions, and we'll try to get to answer as many as possible. Mr. Hayes, thank you, and have a blessed day for joining us on our LawShield Live today.
Thank you, Sam. Always good to talk to you.
Likewise. And remember, I have access because I am a member. Yes, I'm hosting the TV side of it, but I'm also a member. You need to get your membership squared away ASAP. Go to uslawshield.com, uslawshield.com. Use the online code SAM. It's on your screen. And you get 2 free months when you sign up for the annual membership. Keep the questions coming in. Keep the comments coming in. We'll try to answer as many, of course, as your direct messages as possible. I am Sam Malone at the news desk in Houston, Texas. Thank you for joining us on U.S. LawShield Live.